Imagine yourself as one of the crew of this faster-than-light spaceship of the future, sharing their curiosity to know the unknown, their tension, their readiness for inconceivable adventures.
Sir, we're being radar scanned. United Planets Cruiser C-57D, J.J. Adams commanding. Who are you?
Morbius of the Bellerophon.
Well, Dr. Morbius, my orders are to survey the situation on Altair 4.
Commander, if you set down on this planet, I warn you that I cannot be answerable for the safety of your ship or your crew.
When you reach the Forbidden Planet, you will meet Dr. Morbius, played by Walter Pidgeon. The Doctor is sole owner of this fabulous world. Anne Francis is his alluring daughter Alta, who has never seen a young man till she meets Commander Adams, played by talented Leslie Nielsen.
Come on in.
Didn't bring my bathing suit.
What's a bathing suit?
Oh, murder.
You will meet a charming character in The Robot, able to produce on order 10 tons of lead or a slinky evening gown. Always at your service.
You must be the loveliest, softest thing you've ever made for me. And fit in all the right places, with lots and lots of star sapphires.
Star sapphires take a week to crystallize properly. Would diamond or emeralds do?
You explore all the wonders of a vanished civilization. You travel deep down into the heart of the Forbidden Planet to discover the incredible marvels of this lost genius race. These magnificent scenes in striking Eastman color stagger the imagination.
20 miles. Look down, gentlemen. Are you afraid? 7,800 levels.
Yet the wonders of the planet Altair 4 conceal a strange and evil force, unknown, irresistible.
Well, that's a dramatic opening. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 6 of 31 Days of Monsters. Yesterday, we talked about a film, The Day the Earth Stood Still, where aliens came to our planet. And today we're going to go out into the reaches of space and where we are the aliens on another planet, Altair 4. This is MGM's 1956 science fiction classic, Forbidden Planet. Now, this movie was made, as I said, at MGM, which was the most prestigious movie studio at the time, and was given, for the first time, a really big budget to make this film, and all that money is up on the screen. Right down from the special effects. They used Disney animators to animate stuff. Their technical crew built these elaborate and huge sets. And this is a movie that inspired so many things, not the least of which is Star Trek, Star Wars as well. But Roddenberry credits a lot of concepts from Star Trek that came right from this film here. Full color, Eastman color, if if that's a selling point. But they had to put that in the trailer. There's no soundtrack in this thing other than electronic noises. So there's no musical soundtrack. So it has a very ethereal feel to it when you watch this film. Has a great cast. We have Walter Pidgeon and Francis Leslie Nielsen. And if you only know Leslie Nielsen from the Police Squad or the Naked Gun films, or of course Airplane, as a kind of a comedic doofus type guy, his entire career was all straight drama up until he did Airplane. And I think this is his first film. So, he's the stalwart captain, that basically Captain Kirk was sort of modeled after. Warren Stevens is in it. And again, there's a Star Trek tie there. Warren Stevens was in the Star Trek episode By Any Other Name, a second season episode. Another Star Trek connection with this is in the second season episode of Muck Time, where we first find out about Vulcan mating rituals and all that kind of stuff. The Enterprise has an emergency. They have to rendezvous someplace. I forget what the reason was. I haven't seen the episode in a while, but I think it's some kind of big, brass send-off type of thing. But they're going to Altair 4, which is interesting because that's the planet that our story takes place on here. So Altair 4 obviously is a Federation planet. At least it is in the 23rd century. The basic concept of this is that the spacecraft with our heroes in it has to go to Altair 4 to find out what happened to a previous spacecraft that has gone missing. When they arrive there, they find just two survivors, Dr. Morbius, played by Walter Pidgeon, and Altera, his daughter. And so there's a bit of a mystery as to what is, what happened to that original landing party and stuff. It's loosely based on Shakespeare's The Tempest. It, unlike most science fiction films, this one really delves into psychology as well. There's a saying that wherever you go, there you are. And what that means is that regardless of how advanced technologically we become, no matter where we go, we bring our baggage with us. We bring our shit, the stuff that's in our heads, the stuff we can't reconcile, the stuff that makes us human, the pettiness, the jealousies, all that kind of stuff. And that is really the focus of what this film is about. And the monster is us. The monster lives within us, which is a pretty high concept. As I mentioned, this was an inspiration for Star Trek as well as Star Wars. The budget on this thing, there was no expenses spared. I'm getting ahead of myself here. This is a beautiful set piece that was built. Now back to Star Wars. When Morbius is taking the captain and the doctor through the Krell city, I guess you'd call it. There's some shots here that are lifted directly and used by Lucas in Star Wars. The sense of scope and size, like of the Death Star. There's that sequence where Obi-Wan Kenobi is he's standing on that like circular parapet and he's walking around it to avoid the stormtroopers, and we're looking down at him. I mean, that's almost the exact same shot, to show that sense of depth. Yeah, Lucas was never shy about admitting, that where his inspirations came from, shots like this and shots from John Ford films like The Searchers. He framed things deliberately because he loved them so much. Now, the id, or our inner turmoil, if you will, is never really shown. The Krell, we're only is left up to our imaginations. the alien race that built everything on this planet, which is kind of cool because we have to fill in the pictures based on the shapes of door frames. Um, there's this invisible creature that is stalking our characters, and we get a sort of a glimpse of him, of what this creature looks like, because it walks into like this energy barrier, and its outline is revealed to us. And it's kind of a horrific looking monster. And this was designed by a Disney animator and was animated by them as well. And here's a storyboard design of what that creature would look like, in its solid form. Kind of cartoony in a way, but still pretty cool. This is the footprint, that you get to see. They take a mold of it, and you see, this gigantic talon raptor claw, if you will, and it kills a bunch of the astronauts, and so you can only imagine what happened when it went into the perimeter and killed those guys with this thing. Think of like Jurassic Park with one of these giant creature things. This poster is one of the most famous sci-fi movie posters ever. It taps into the 1950s sci-fi / pulp magazine style of selling the product. This scene does not happen in a movie. Robbie is not an evil robot. He's sort of a heroic robot, and he survives in the end. It's interesting. There's Robbie was created with Krell technology by Dr. Morbius because he had put that thing on his head and was able to absorb a certain amount of the intellect of the Krell to create Robbie. And there's an inner safety mechanism in Robbie that he can't harm, any humans. So there's a sequence where he's told to shoot Leslie Nielsen, and so he takes the blaster and he points it at him, and then all of a sudden his inner circuits start wigging out, and he shuts down. Well, later on, when Morbius tells him to destroy the creature that's coming after them, the id, Robbie knows that the creature is Morbius, and so he completely has a meltdown in circuits and everything, and you'd think that would have destroyed him, but at the end of the movie he shows up on the spaceship as they're heading back to Earth, ostensibly having been repaired, but who had the technology to repair him? Certainly not the captain or anybody left on that crew. So great film. If you haven't seen it, look it up and watch it, and look for some of those aspects that you'll see later on in other science fiction genre films, because this one inspired many. So good morning, chat. Good to see everybody here. Devil Flyer is here. Dr. Mask, Pop Culture Avenger, Monster Fan. Monster Fan saw the original Robbie at a film convention in London back in the mid-90s. He was in really good shape then. That's cool. Stripling Vaughn is here. Good morning. Billy Glasby. Hello. Ravens Saber says monsters and coffee, a perfect way to start the day. Absolutely. Dr. Mask is drinking some bearded veteran coffee. Devil Flyer comments on the nice matte paintings. Yeah, this was entirely filmed on the MGM studios. All the exterior shots are still done in the studio. It was the largest studio that they had at MGM to give it that scope. The sequences in Altera's garden was actually the Munchkins. Um, uh, what's the place where they lived in the Wizard of Oz? Whatever it is, it's a set from the Wizard of Oz. What's a bathing suit? Well, who wasn't in love with Aunt Frances? Yeah, she was so adorable. North Free, Hail Graham, and the Mighty Chat. Love this movie. Inspired Star Trek. Yes, sir. Devil Flyer says it's Forbidden Graham. I've been forbidden in places. Rick Saylor is here. Good morning. Man of War 665. Neighbor of the Beast. Good morning. He says, Hail amigos. Pedro Ang is here. Good morning. Vogan Club Webmaster. Good morning, Graham. Finally made it to YouTube. Oh, that's Steve Lowenthal. Good. Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Critical Blast says Leslie Nielsen made a great leading man. The thing that made him such a great comedian was that he wasn't funny, so he played all his comic roles straight. JP Roca is surprised the daughter doesn't know what a bathing suit is, but has 60s style dresses. Well, 60s style, but made in the 50s. So she was still ahead of her time. Nerd and a Noob. It says, morning, one of my favorite old movies right here. It still holds up, you know, the effects were so groundbreaking for their day that they still hold up. The Normie Nerd says, good morning, Graham in chat. Good morning. Don't turn me into a cube and crush me. It's a reference to By Any Other Name episode of Star Trek. Pop Culture Avenger wants to know if the original storyboards ever came up for auction. Must be worth a mint. I have no idea. It's probably in somebody's collection. You know, some rich director who's into that kind of stuff, like Guillermo del Toro, somebody like that, maybe. Spielberg, Lucas, who knows? Oh, Hale Lobster says, I saw this movie only this year and enjoyed it. The Tempest in Space. Yeah, that's kind of neat to be able to see it through, you know, virgin eyes, you know, a film that's classic that you come across for the first time. That's pretty neat. Stat Zero, good morning. Oh, I don't know why this does this. You know, as I start to scroll, it'll jump right to the end, and I could, you know, then I got to scroll back to where I was to find out, you know, because I'm missing like 30 or 40 comments. All right, I'm back. Mailcheck says, I hate reboots and remakes, but they should totally be remaking movies from this era now that they have the capability for effects. It all depends. I mean, yesterday we talked about The Day the Earth Stood Still, and they remade that, and it was horrible. It's like, they don't understand what made it great in the first place. It isn't about dazzling special effects so much it is the content, the story. If they don't get that right, it doesn't matter, what kind of technology they have. And I don't have the confidence that they can do that. There's too many, woke knuckleheads working in Hollywood that'll just ruin it. You can get the original movie poster for I'm sure you mean paltry, $250,000. Sultry would mean that it's sexy. Dark Shadow Logan says, "Hail Graham, I love reflecting on these old movies. You and me both." North 3, good point, mail check. Good point, mail check. John Carpenter remade The Thing from the same era, made it better, too. As I pointed out, that, well, first off, he didn't make it better than the original. He made it closer to the book, that's for sure. But the problem with the Carpenter film is that, and I've said this when I reviewed both these films last year, is that just like Ridley Scott, John Carpenter makes movies about characters you don't care about. In fact, you can actively dislike them sometimes. And in the John Campbell book, Who Goes There? Yeah, Carpenter got all the names right and the characters somewhat right, and the alien right because of the technology of its time in the 1980s. But what he didn't get was the characters themselves. In the Campbell book, you care about these people the same way you care about the military guys and the scientists in the 1951 version. But if you can marry those two things together, then you got a really great movie. Hale Lobster says, replying to mail check, if someone told childhood me there'd be a time we could make literally anything, but it's all trash, I'd not have believed it. Well, both those statements are true. Mail check was disappointed with 2011, The Thing. That would be the prequel to the Carpenter film. I liked it, but it's hard to keep any suspense up when you know how it's going to end. Stat Zero reminds everybody, don't forget that like. Yeah, hit that like button, guys, regardless of whether you're subscribed or not, which you should be, because it doesn't cost you anything. And that way you can get notified when I'm broadcasting, whether it be this show or if I go on, impromptu, that type of thing. But the like button helps the algorithms and the channel as well. So please hit the like. Oh, George Travelos popped in. He's a little late. That's okay. And thank you, George, for hitting that like button. Beautiful. Rob says, Graham Noel, not rushing you, but what is tomorrow's movie since you reordered? It's The Blob, the Steve McQueen version. So we have another alien coming to Earth. We've gone off to another planet, and now another planet is coming to us again. Mailcheck says, would be interesting to see you talk with Robert Meyer Burnett about movies. I don't know who that is. Movies like this, made so long ago that were all practical effects and still hold up quite a bit today, show the weakness in CGI-heavy movies of today that struggle to hold up even 5 years. You know, sometimes it's because you can do something doesn't mean you need to do it. Most of these movies are just so special effects heavy at the expense of any real content, any real story. That's my biggest beef about a lot of the movies that are made today. And rather than lingering, letting the viewer linger on something important, be it a monster or a reveal or something like that, the camera is constantly moving around. It's like they're trying to hide, what, or they're embarrassed or something by the creature or the effect or whatever it may be. Sometimes you got to linger. When Boris Karloff walks backwards into the room for the first time and then turns slowly towards the viewers in the original Frankenstein, revealing that face to the world for the first time, and then the camera kind of does these quick jump cuts around him, is unbelievable. There's no camera moving all over the place, or it's just you get to linger and see everything. That's great movie making. Dr. Mass says, nowadays, if Hollywood makes something good, it's by accident. All right, I jumped again, damn it. There we go. JP Roca says, Guten Morgen, Prater 7. Okay, a little German there, good. Oh, and Prater 7 replies in French. Oh, wonderful, we have some détente going on here. Oh, thank you, Dark Shadow Logan. Don't forget to share the link on your social media if you have any also. Yeah, exactly. Let's bring more people in here. Let's share the love of monsters and science fiction and fantasy films. This is the season that all of us that love this kind of stuff get to really revel in it. And there's a lot of people out there that probably don't know about this show and would love to come in and enjoy it with their morning coffee. Skull Nasher says the Blob has a great theme song. Yes, Burt Bacharach. Beware of the blob, it creeps. Ba-bee, ba-ba, ba-ba. It's great. Dolomite. I like the original, The Blob, but the song is so goofy. It is definitely a contrast to what that movie is about. And so I don't know what they were thinking when they put that in there. That movie was made as a drive-in feature, I don't know. I'll see if I can find something on that when I'm doing all my research today and tomorrow before we broadcast. Nerd and a noob. Much like comics, or won't be mainstream or Hollywood eventually, but independence, hopefully. Referring to movies that make good movies again. He finished up here. Number 3, just watched Son of Frankenstein last night. I love Son of Frankenstein. It's so bizarre. And each one of the 3 Frankenstein films has a very different feel to it. You have the original, then you have The Bride, which takes a much more fantasy aspect. And then you have the meaner, leaner, expressionistic Son of Frankenstein, which is the final appearance of Boris as the monster. And, basically, you got Bela Lugosi as the deformed, broken-necked Igor, who steals the show. One of his finest performances. And of course, you've got Basil Rathbone, so incredibly, wonderfully over the top in his performance. Perhaps you want me to whip up a monster like a souffle. I can't watch that movie and not think of Young Frankenstein, because so many sequences were lifted from Young Frankenstein from that movie, that, like, when they're playing darts and stuff, it's almost, it's almost hard to watch, because I keep thinking of Mel Brooks's parodies. Modern sci-fi has no sense of wonder. The only series that has done that for me was The Expanse, says Pedro Ang. Yeah, unfortunately, since Star Wars, most of so-called science fiction is more like space adventure. There's very little science. The Star Trek: The Motion Picture was a science fiction Star Trekian version, which is why I think it's still the most Star Trek of any of them. Then they leaned heavy into the Star Wars model. Another overlooked horror film is The Last Man on Earth, starring Vincent Price, which later was remade as The Omega Man with Charlton Heston as I Am Legend with Will Smith. Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with a Richard Matheson book, and that was the title, I Am Legend. The closest one was probably The Last Man on Earth to the actual book, and it's a great novella, or short story, if you will, if you haven't read it. VOA Gun Club webmaster. I probably butchered that, but he thinks Son of Frankenstein is a good movie, but the monster wore a bad vest. Pretty iconic, though. I love how Basil increasingly becomes more unhinged as the movie goes on. Oh, yeah. I'm surprised he didn't put on weight from all the scenery he chewed in that movie. Stat Zero says the most Star Trek: The Motion Picture was 40 minutes of watching a ship leave the dock. No, it was 40 minutes of a ship flying around the Enterprise. Yeah, they could have cut that scene. There's no two ways about it. Okay, that's everybody. Oh, here we go. Here's an Veterans of America Gun Club equals Steve Lowenthal. I like that. But it's hard to pronounce as a single word. Maybe you should just leave it at Veterans of America Gun Club. To my question of who Robert Burnett is, he is a YouTuber. He has produced, directed, edited in Hollywood. His politics society has some interesting insights. He would probably love talking to you. Oh, okay. I'll have to look into his YouTube channel. Take a look at what he has to say. All right, gang. Tomorrow, day 7, we're going to be talking about The Blob with Steve McQueen, or Stephen McQueen as he was known back then. That movie scared the piss out of me when I was a kid. I didn't even realize it was in color for years, because I'm old, and I had a black and white TV. I didn't get a color TV till 1974, so there's so many TV shows that I thought were always in black and white, like Star Trek. So that's pretty funny. So anyway, tomorrow, 8 o'clock a.m., be here for The Blob, and we shall catch you then. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.